All right, so if we take a look at this next multiplication problem in our AC video, you'll notice that this time I have a binomial times a binomial, and so then we will double distribute it, and we're going to take the square root of 5 times the 7, then square root of 5 times the 1, and then we'll do negative 6 times the 7 and negative 6 times the 1. So let's do this. So square root of 5 times square root of 7, they're both inside, would give me the square root of 35. Then the square root of 5 times the 1, this is outside, this is inside, it's going to be a positive 1, which I'm not going to write, square root of 5. Now move to the negative square root of 6, so they're both inside, so it's going to give me a negative, and then square root of 6 times square root of 7 is going to be the square root of 42. And then the square root of 6 times 1, that's, again, it's a negative. And outside and inside, so that's just going to be the square root of 6. Even though these factor, they don't have any perfect squares that go into them. So this actually is our final answer for that. Sometimes you can add together some of those radicals. All right, so then let's look at D. So in D, we have the square root of 2x times the square root of 2x. And that's going to give us, I'm going to show you this little in-between step. It's going to give us, when I multiply the inside times the inside, it's going to be like having 2x squared, right? So the square root of a square is just going to be 2x. So anytime you multiply a radical times itself, the 2x will come, whatever's inside will come out. So then I've got the square root of 2x times 5. So outside's 5, inside is 2x. The negative 5 times this radical is going to give me a minus, outside 5, inside 2x. And then negative 5 times positive 5 is negative 25. So now we can see these are like terms. I have a plus 5 and a minus 5, so it's going to be 0. So this ends up being 2x minus 25 for my answer. So now taking a look at example E on this problem where we're multiplying, we have our parentheses is squared, so that means we'll take the parentheses times itself. And when we multiply the first times the first, outside times outside is going to give me 16. And radical 3 times radical 3 is going to be radical 3 squared, which is 3. And then 4 radical 3 times negative 1 is going to be negative 4 radical 3. And negative 1 times that again is going to be negative 4 radical 3. And then negative 1 times negative 1 is plus 1. So now I have, this is going to multiply out to be 48. So 48 plus 1 is going to be 49. And then like terms are both radical 3. So minus 4 and minus 4 gives me minus 8 radical 3. Now, I have to concentrate on when do you keep things the same and when do you multiply them. So when you're multiplying, you multiply everything. 4 times 4 is 16. Radical 3 times radical 3, radical 9, which is 3. And when you're adding, you have to have like terms, and then you add the coefficients, negative 8, and you keep the radical the same. All right, so take a minute now and try these next problems. All right, so example 3, one last one, is still, it's like the last one we did, where we're going to square the parentheses. And, you know, let's take a minute and talk about this. So remember our rules for squaring. I'll see, where shall I put this? Down here, maybe. Remember our rules for squaring. When we square something, we square the front one and get 4x squared. And we do square the last one and get plus 25. And the middle is made up of these two things multiplied. So negative 10x twice because you got your outside and your inside. So negative 10x and negative 10x is negative 20x. And I want you to keep that in mind when we do problems like this. So I could say, I'm going to square this and get 16 times 3 is 48. Negative 1 times negative 1 is plus 1. And then a negative 4 radical 3 and a negative 4 radical 3 is negative 8 radical 3. So keep in mind that you can do that kind of thing on these problems. So if I have, well, I'll write it down. You want to see if you can avoid writing whenever possible, but here we go. So when I multiply radical times radical, and they're the same thing, I get the square root of 2x plus 3 squared, which is 2x plus 3. My outside is going to be a minus 5 radical 2x plus 3. And the inside here is going to be a minus 5 radical 2x plus 3. The negative 5 times negative 5 is plus 25. These are like terms, so I'm going to add them. So I have negative 5 is negative 10 radical 2x plus 3, and then plus 25. And then I'm going to see if I can combine anything, and I can combine the 3 and the 25. So my final answer would be 2x plus 28 minus 10 radical 2x plus 3. So now you've got a minute to try this next one. See y'all in class.